She earned only $500 a month wiping tables and sweeping floors at a children's party venue. Every weekend, Stella watched kids laughing, families celebrating, but inside her heart was heavy with the certainty that her life seemed condemned to scarcity. Her empty wallet reflected a tired mind, and the bills that never balanced reminded her every day that abundance was nothing more than a distant dream. But what Stella didn't know was that destiny had reserved for her a discovery that would change everything. A revelation that would take her from the dust of party halls to the glow of a prosperous life. A journey of faith, awareness, and power. And that's what you're about to hear right now. Stay until the end, because beyond Stella's transformative story, I will share with you a powerful manifestation technique that could be the key to unlocking your own life. If you feel trapped in a routine with no way out, this video is for you. If you've ever wondered, why does everyone else's life move forward while mine stands still? Then listen carefully. Stella's story is actually a mirror. A reminder that the same force that changed her life can also change yours. But before we move on, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs hope. When you do this, you're not just strengthening this message, you're also activating abundance energy within yourself. Leave a comment right now saying, "I believe in my manifestation." That simple phrase might be the first step to aligning your mind with what you desire. Now take a deep breath and get ready. Because the story you're about to hear is not about luck, and it's not about privilege. It's about awakening to the power of your mind. It's about understanding that the universe responds to the energy we carry within us. Picture this. A young woman with no perspective, working exhausting hours, often judged by others as someone who will never be anything. That was Stella. She could have believed it. She could have accepted living the same reality until the end of her days. But something inside her whispered that life had more to offer. And maybe you're hearing that same whisper right now. Maybe, as you listen to these words, you feel a small spark inside you saying, "My life doesn't have to be this way." That's the beginning of transformation. That's exactly how it started for Stella, with a restlessness that wouldn't let her stay the same. The most amazing thing is that great changes don't begin with millions in the bank or extraordinary opportunities. They begin with small signs. And Stella was about to find the sign that would change her story forever. But pay attention, don't think that the turning point came from the outside. The turning point came from within. And throughout this video, you'll understand why Stella went from being an underpaid cleaner to becoming a millionaire woman. You'll see that the difference between where you are and where you want to be may lie in a single decision. So stay with me until the very end. Because every detail of this story will reveal what Stella discovered, applied, and lived. And by the end, I will share with you a powerful manifestation technique that you can use today to start changing your reality. Stella woke up every day before the sun came up. She drank a weak cup of coffee, often just to trick her hunger, and walked to the bus stop. Most mornings she spent almost 2 hours standing, squeezed in with strangers, just to get to the children's party venue where she worked as a cleaner. For only $500 a month, she wiped tables, picked up trash, and scrubbed bathrooms after every event. Her paycheck barely covered the rent of a small studio apartment, and the utility bills arrived like monsters chasing her down. Many times, Stella opened her wallet and found only a few coins. Despair knocked at her door daily, but she would take a deep breath and whisper to herself, "One day it will get better." Still, she had no idea how. The work environment was heavy. While children laughed and played, Stella felt her own life was stuck in the same place. She watched parents spending thousands of dollars on lavish parties with balloons and decorated tables, and wondered if she would ever be able to give herself a gift that big. But what hurt the most wasn't the physical exhaustion or the lack of money. The deepest pain came from humiliation. Stella had heard coworkers say things like, "People like us are born poor and die poor." She had been mocked for wearing the same faded work clothes. And some clients treated her as if she were invisible, as if her existence didn't matter. Those words and attitudes were like stones thrown at her self-esteem. And even when she tried to ignore them, each insult left a scar. At times, she cried quietly in the restroom, making sure no one could see her tears. Even so, something inside her refused to accept that fate. Stella dreamed of more, even when everyone around her said it was impossible. At night, lying in her small bed, she imagined a different life, new clothes, a cozy home, and the freedom of not worrying about overdue bills. That contrast kept her alive, the harsh reality of each day against her burning desire for change. And although she had no idea how, Stella believed there had to be a way out. She just didn't know where to find it. The truth was, she felt imprisoned, as if trapped in an invisible cage with doors locked by keys she never had. The world seemed to have decided she was destined for scarcity, but deep down she refused to believe that was her final sentence. Every humiliation, every sleepless night, every tear hidden in her pillow was, without her knowing, preparing the ground for the transformation to come. Because sometimes, it's in the depths of despair that the strength to rise is born. And it was in this very setting of pain, humiliation, and daily struggle that Stella stumbled upon something that would radically change the course of her life. Something that seemed small at first glance, yet carried within it the power to rewrite her destiny. It was on an ordinary day, seemingly no different from all the others, that Stella's life began to shift. She was exhausted, having just cleaned up the hall after a huge party, and sat down for a few minutes on a chair, looking around. On one of the tables, forgotten by a guest, there was a plain book with a simple cover, but its title caught her eye, The Law of Attraction. At first, Stella thought about just giving the book to the manager and continuing her routine. But something inside her urged her to open those worn pages. The first line spoke of an invisible power that every person carries within, a power capable of shaping reality itself. She read them again and again, not fully believing, but with her heart racing. Could this be real? She wondered. Maybe it was just another self-help story, another empty promise. Yet, there was something different about those words. They spoke directly to the pain Stella felt, as if they had been written just for her. That night, instead of crying herself to sleep, Stella took the book home and dove into it. Each page lit a spark inside her. She discovered that thoughts and emotions were not just reflections of life, but the seeds of what was yet to come. She realized she might actually be able to reprogram her future. The following days were filled with curiosity and doubt. While washing dishes and sweeping floors, Stella kept repeating the phrases she had read, "What you focus on expands. You attract what you believe." It sounded strange, but it also made sense. Could it really be possible to change her life just by changing the way she thought? So she decided to run a test. She grabbed an old journal and, following the book's instructions, wrote her first affirmation, "I have money left over at the end of the month." She wrote it not as a request, but as if it were already true. Without realizing, she was taking her first step toward aligning her energy. In the nights that followed, Stella kept this practice a secret. Every evening before bed, she wrote small sentences in the journal as if her life had already changed. I am prosperous. I live in abundance. I am worthy of a better life. The phrases were simple, but each one carried deep emotion. And the most incredible thing? Little by little, signs began to appear. A friend she hadn't seen in years showed up and unexpectedly paid for dinner. Her boss offered her some extra hours at work, which meant unexpected income. Even a small raffle at the grocery store brought her a basket of products she needed. That's when Stella realized, maybe this book wasn't just a coincidence. Maybe, just maybe, she had finally found the key she had been searching for. If she could attract small things, who was to say she couldn't manifest something much bigger? Stella's heart burned with hope. With every page she read, with every line she wrote in her journal, she felt life could change. What had once been only a distant dream was now starting to become a real possibility. From that moment on, she made a decision that would change everything. She would live as if she were already the prosperous woman she had always wished to be. Determined not to let that book become just another forgotten memory on a shelf, Stella decided to put the ideas into practice with greater intention. Writing a few sentences before bed was no longer enough. She began to imagine her life completely different. With her eyes closed, she saw herself walking through a bright, beautiful home, eating without worry, and wearing the clothes she had always wanted. But her mind was not easy to control. Many times, while visualizing the life of her dreams, thoughts of scarcity broke in. This will never happen for me. Who do I think I am to want so much? It was as if an inner voice mocked every attempt she made. Even so, Stella pressed on. She turned her commute to work into a time of practice. Whether she was sitting on the bus or walking down crowded streets, she quietly repeated affirmations of abundance. Each word was another attempt to reprogram her mind. But the results were inconsistent. Some days felt magical, like when she found money tucked away in the pocket of an old pair of jeans. On other days, nothing seemed to happen, and the weight of reality crushed her hope again. This back and forth left her confused. Was she truly manifesting, or was she only imagining things? One night, after an especially exhausting day, Stella thought about giving up. She tore a page from her journal, threw it in the trash, and said to herself, I'm wasting my time. The tears came hard, and for a few moments she truly believed the universe wasn't listening. But that very same night, as she turned on an old radio to distract herself, she heard a phrase that felt like a direct answer: you reap what you insist on planting. It was just a random program, but to Stella it sounded like a sign. It felt as though the universe itself had given her a gentle push to keep going. And maybe you felt the same way, torn between belief and doubt. You started something full of faith, but then that thought crept in: what if this doesn't work? If you've ever been there, leave a comment right now saying, I've battled my own doubts. I'll read every response, because this struggle is far more common than you might think. With this new breath of hope, Stella picked up her journal again. She wiped her tears, went back to writing, and decided that no matter how long it took, she would not give up. Faith was all she had. And if she had to fight her own thoughts every single day, then she would fight. That moment of almost giving up became a turning point. Because instead of abandoning the path, Stella chose to go deeper into her practice. Little did she know, that decision would open the door to something that would change everything, a sign so clear and powerful it would erase all her doubts. The days that followed felt different. Stella still wrestled with uncertainty, but something inside her was steadier now. She no longer wrote in her journal out of obligation, but with a touch of confidence. Each line became a quiet ritual of hope. Still, she never imagined the universe would respond so quickly. One day, after finishing another long shift cleaning up after a children's party, Stella overheard two women talking. One of them mentioned an opening for an administrative assistant at a small local company. The pay was more than double what she earned at the party venue. In that instant, Stella's heart began to race. It was as if those words were spoken just for her. Without thinking too much, Stella gathered her courage and asked for details. At first, the woman laughed dismissively, as if Stella didn't stand a chance. But the very next day, Stella heard the position was still available. Against all the voices saying, "This isn't for you," she decided to apply. At the interview, her insecurity showed. Her simple clothes stood in stark contrast to the other candidates. But Stella did something different. Before walking in, she closed her eyes and visualized the universe aligning in her favor. Quietly, she repeated to herself, "I am chosen. I am worthy. I already have this job." The unexpected happened. A week later, she received the call. She had been hired. The paycheck, which once barely passed $500, would now triple. To Stella, this was not just a job opportunity, it was living proof that the law of attraction was real. She cried tears of joy as she held the phone. Every drop was a mix of relief and gratitude. For a moment, she remembered all the humiliations, the times she had been invisible, the jokes at her expense. And now, in her hands, she held the result of her faith. And I want to ask you, has anything ever happened in your life that seemed far too unlikely, yet came at the perfect time, like a direct answer from the universe? If it has, share your story in the comments with the words, "I have lived a miracle." Your story might inspire someone who needs this message right now. For Stella, that new job wasn't the final destination. It was only the first step on a staircase that would take her much higher. With each passing day, she felt she wasn't just changing her circumstances, she was changing her identity. The humiliated, exhausted woman was giving way to someone who finally knew her own worth. This was the point of no return. Stella no longer doubted. Now that she had seen the power of manifestation in action, she was ready to dream bigger. And she had no idea that this was only the beginning of a transformation that would take her to places she had never imagined. As she held the job offer letter in her hands, Stella felt something different. It wasn't just about the bigger paycheck, or about leaving behind the exhausting cleaning shifts for an administrative role. It was about how she now saw herself. For the first time, Stella no longer viewed herself as a victim of fate, but as the author of her own story. She realized that the universe hadn't simply given her a job, but an opportunity to reinvent herself. That role was confirmation that her thoughts, feelings, and actions could create a new reality. Stella understood she had to decide who she wanted to be from that moment on. It was then that she made a firm decision. She would leave behind the identity of the underpaid, humiliated cleaner, and embrace the identity of a prosperous woman, confident and worthy of abundance. This decision wasn't easy, because it meant challenging beliefs she had carried since childhood. Every morning, Stella began a new ritual. Standing in front of the mirror, even in her simple clothes, she declared, "I am abundance. I am prosperity. I am worthy." At first, it felt strange, almost like a lie. But the more she repeated those words, the more they carved space into her heart. And what about you? Have you ever tried looking at yourself in the mirror and speaking positive words about who you want to become? Have you felt that awkwardness of affirming something you don't yet see, but long to live? If you have, write in the comments, "I am changing my identity." Because this simple practice could be the beginning of your own deep transformation. Stella began to notice subtle changes. She walked the streets with her head held high, spoke with more confidence, and little by little, people around her started to treat her differently. It was as if the world itself was responding to this new version of her. Of course, not everyone welcomed the change. Some coworkers mocked her, saying she was getting full of herself. But Stella no longer allowed those words to pierce her heart. She knew that when a person decides to grow, not everyone will clap for them. Still, she remained firm in her decision to sustain her new identity. This process wasn't just mental, it was emotional. Stella learned to feel what it was like to live in abundance even before experiencing big changes on the outside. She would close her eyes, take a deep breath, and let the sensation of prosperity fill her body. For her, that was more powerful than any physical task. And the most amazing part was that, as this prosperous identity grew stronger inside her, new opportunities began to appear naturally. It was as if the universe had recognized her decision and was rearranging itself to bring her everything that matched the new image she carried. This was the true turning point. Stella wasn't just achieving new things, she was becoming a new person. And when you change who you are on the inside, you inevitably change everything around you. The universe seemed to be smiling on her. The administrative job had given Stella dignity, a better paycheck, and the feeling that her life was finally moving forward. But what she didn't know was that life often tests those who choose to grow. What seemed like stability was about to collapse. On a seemingly normal morning, as she arrived at the office, Stella was given the news: the company was cutting costs, and her name was on the layoff list. The ground vanished beneath her feet. The same hands that once held her offer letter now trembled around the termination notice. Suddenly, all her fears returned. Her heart tightened with memories of endless cleaning jobs, miserable paychecks, and cruel humiliations. Stella asked herself, was it all just luck? Do I really not deserve a better life? Despair threatened to swallow the faith she had worked so hard to build. In the days that followed, her pillow was soaked with tears once again. She stared at her journal of affirmations with anger. She thought about tearing out every page, about abandoning the idea that she could ever create her own reality. The weight of loss felt heavier than any hope she had left. But in the silence of the night, a memory resurfaced, the words she had once read in that book. What you focus on expands. Stella realized that if she kept focusing on fear and defeat, she would only attract more of it. That thought was like a spark, reigniting a small flame inside her. With effort, she sat up and reopened her journal. Through tears, she wrote, I attract an opportunity greater than any I've ever had. Even without knowing how it could happen, she chose to surrender once again to the process. After all, she had already seen the power of manifestation once before. And what about you? Have you ever gone through a moment when everything seemed to be going well and, suddenly, you lost what you had worked so hard to achieve? Have you ever felt as though the universe was testing you? If so, leave a comment right now saying, I've been tested by life, but I still believe. That phrase could be the turning point for you as well. In the days that followed, Stella chose surrender over despair. Instead of looking for another job like the one she had lost, she started asking herself new questions. What if the universe is pushing me towards something of my own? What if this loss is actually an invitation to grow even more? These questions opened the door to new ideas. That's when she remembered something simple but powerful. Since her teenage years, Stella had loved helping her friends with their appearance. She always had a talent for shaping eyebrows and bringing out people's natural beauty. In that moment, a possibility was born, turning her personal gift into a profession. What looked like the end was, in truth, a new beginning. The layoff that at first felt like a curse was actually the push Stella needed to see her true calling. Stella didn't have money to invest in anything big, but she had something far more powerful, a hidden talent and the certainty that she could create a new reality. With a small mirror, a pair of tweezers, and a chair in her living room, she began. Her first step was offering eyebrow shaping to a neighbor, charging only a symbolic price. The result was surprising. The neighbor left delighted, and the same day she recommended Stella to 2 friends. What began as a timid test quickly turned into a chain of referrals. Within just a few days, Stella already had a list of clients scheduling appointments. It was still all very simple. She improvised, worked from home, and used basic tools. But each client left with a smile and renewed confidence. And that sparkle in their eyes made Stella believe she was on the right path. Of course, it wasn't all easy. Some people said it was crazy to trade a steady job for working on eyebrows. Others laughed, thinking it was just a hobby. But Stella no longer let outside voices shake her. She had learned that life responds to what you believe in. And what about you? Have you ever started something small that others didn't believe in, but deep down you carried the certainty it could work? If you've lived that, leave a comment. I believe in my dream, even if it's small. That declaration could be your first step towards strengthening your faith. As the list of names in her appointment journal grew, Stella herself was growing on the inside. Each client she served was confirmation that she was manifesting something much greater than she had ever imagined. The money started coming in more consistently than in her old job. Stella knew she had to keep cultivating her energy. Before every appointment, she whispered a short prayer and visualized prosperity not only for herself, but also for the person sitting in front of her. It was as if, by aligning each woman's eyebrows, she was also aligning her own life with the flow of the universe. Word of mouth spread quickly. Soon, Stella wasn't just serving neighbors but people from other neighborhoods who came recommended. The little corner in her living room felt too small for the big dreams now knocking at her door. But instead of fearing it, Stella smiled. She recognized this was only the beginning of something much greater. Just as the book had appeared at the right time, this new gift of hers was blossoming exactly when it was meant to. And the universe, generous and fair, was simply waiting to deliver to her the abundance she was already vibrating in her heart. The small studio Stella opened in America started humbly, with just a handful of neighborhood clients. The simple walls she had painted herself hid a dream that grew bigger each day. In her journal, she kept writing, "I am the owner of a successful clinic. I attract clients from all over the world." As time passed, the word spread. People from different areas began seeking her services, captivated not only by her flawless eyebrow designs but also by the energy they felt in her presence. Serving with love and manifesting prosperity in every gesture had become her trademark. But the turning point came unexpectedly. One day, a new client walked into her studio, accompanied by discreet assistants. She was a Hollywood actress, known for her hit movies. Stella kept her composure, but inside she knew this was a direct sign from the universe. The appointment went perfectly. The actress left glowing and that same day posted a photo on her social media praising Stella's work. Within hours, Stella's name appeared in thousands of comments, shared by beauty and lifestyle pages. The next day, Stella's schedule exploded. People from distant cities started calling, begging for appointments. Journalists requested interviews, and fashion influencers tagged her in their posts. The young woman who had once been humiliated for earning just $500 cleaning tables was now sought after by the entertainment elite. With the money she saved, Stella opened her first branch in New York. Soon after, another in Miami. Within just a few years, she inaugurated a clinic in Los Angeles, the city of stars, where her name was already respected among beauty professionals. And with every milestone, the journal was always present. Before opening any branch, Stella would write as if it were already real, "My clinic in New York is fully booked. I am an international reference in beauty." And as always, the universe answered. Have you ever imagined a simple journal becoming the map of your dreams? Just like Stella, you too can start writing your new reality today. If you believe in this, comment, "My journal creates my future." International recognition came naturally. Clients from other countries traveled just to sit in Stella's chair. And she, grateful, knew that every step of this journey had been born first within her, in thoughts and words written down in a simple journal. And it's at this point in the journey that I want to reveal to you the technique Stella used every single day. A simple, yet powerful practice that may be the very key you've been missing to transform your own life. Stella's story shows us that abundance doesn't happen by chance. She didn't wait for the world to change on its own, she created a daily ritual that transformed her thoughts, her energy, and, little by little, her reality. The secret wasn't luck, it was consistency. Every day, Stella opened her journal and wrote as if she were already living the life of her dreams. It didn't matter if her money was short that day, or if her difficulties felt overwhelming, she wrote as if she had already won. Simple phrases like, "I am prosperous. I have successful clients. My life is abundant." The power was in the repetition. But it wasn't only about writing. Stella closed her eyes and visualized. She saw herself walking through a full clinic, speaking with happy clients, receiving payments, and living in peace. Her heart filled with the feeling of victory long before any result had arrived. And here's the point many people forget, it's not enough to write once, nor to visualize only occasionally. Stella turned this into a habit. Every single day, without fail, she dedicated a few minutes to aligning her thoughts with the life she wanted to live. Here is the exact technique you can apply. Pick up a journal and write daily, always in the present tense, what you desire as if it were already real. Close your eyes and visualize that reality for a few minutes, feeling joy and gratitude as if it had already happened. Whisper thanks out loud. Say, "Thank you," for every detail, as if it were already a gift received. Simple. Yes. But powerful. Because each written word and each mental image, repeated every single day, reprograms your mind, shifts your vibration, and opens the door for the universe to respond. And I want to invite you to begin today. Take a journal right now and write at least 3 sentences in the present tense about the life you desire. Repeat this every day and watch how your energy begins to shift. Just like Stella, you can start small. But with consistency, you'll begin to notice signs, an unexpected opportunity, a gift, a door opening. The universe will find ways to confirm that you are on the right path. So don't put it off. The same technique that transformed Stella's distant dream into a millionaire life may be the very key to unlocking your abundance. The first step is simple: write today, visualize today, give thanks today. And if you believe you're ready to begin, leave a comment: I will practice every day. Declare your decision and let that energy be the seed of a prosperous future already on its way. If this story touched your heart, remember, nothing happens by accident. You arrived here because you, too, carry within yourself the power to transform your life. Just as Stella began with a simple journal and a daily practice, you can also take your first step today. That's why I invite you now to subscribe to this channel. Here you will find more stories, techniques, and inspiration to strengthen your faith and align your energy with the abundance that already belongs to you. When you subscribe, you are choosing a better future for yourself. And don't keep this only for you. Share this video with someone who needs hope, someone you know is in a moment of struggle. Maybe this is the message they've been waiting for. Like this video, leave your comment, and be part of this movement of prosperity. Together, we can spread abundance and show the world that dreams do become reality when nurtured every day. And remember, life always responds to what you believe is possible. Today may look small, but every written word, every visualization, and every act of gratitude are invisible bricks building your future. The impossible is only that which has not yet encountered the strength of your faith.